It backfired. There's a chance to get sold.
That ain't never gonna happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Safety Optional. We are back at it again tonight. We got so stoked last time we got this thing to fire off. We are back again working on our Jeep truck project. If you don't know, we're putting a 5.3 liter V8 out of a 2005 Chevy Tahoe into this 1987 Jeep Comanche pickup. Last time we were working on it, we almost got it to start. We've got a few ideas of what we think might be the problem. We're gonna try those solutions, and when they don't work, we'll think of something else and try some more. So tonight, stick with us. We're gonna see if we can get this thing running.
If I can get it to...
All right, so Eric, you're putting the... We realized what was leaking, puking out the tranny fluid the other night when we were cranking the engine over, and it was the coolant line, the cooling line. So
It was making the hilarious noise.
yeah, the noise. So okay, well we're getting that plugged up and fixed. So at least we won't be spurting tranny fluid out. And what we did was, it's kind of hard to see. What we did was we just hooked a hose on the end here to circulate, so that fluid will just pump out around and back in. We're not going to need a cooler right now anyway, so one problem solved.
Dropped it.
Here's another thing we're dealing with tonight. Here's what's on tap. We got the Dead Armadillo Tulsa Flag Pale Ale, the IPA. We have T-Town Stay Gold Lager from 9 Band. And where we got Extra Sandwich Citra Pale Ale. What else you got in there?
There's...
Daggum.
Damn it!
Sneaky Snake Belgian Style Golden Ale. I think we're in business.
So since last time, we came to the conclusion that likely candidate for the engine not starting was the fuel injector. So I picked up 8 new fuel injectors, remanufactured from our friends over at Rock Auto. And so we're gonna try to get these installed tonight. And that's gonna be our first troubleshooting measure. I also picked up some more transmission fluid, some motor oil so we don't burn our engine up, and in case we should get there, some coolant. All the cheapest you can find, since this is going to be a temporary solution.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to end up changing all the fluids on this again after we get it all fine-tuned, but this will get us by temporarily. And one thing to note that we haven't even mentioned yet, maybe we'll get there tonight, we have some other toys up on the shelf over there that are parts for when we get around to it. So we'll talk about those later if we get there.
So here's something else we got to help us out. It's a relay center for things like lights and maybe our starter solenoid, stuff like that. It's waterproof.
All that stuff.
It's from online LED store. I'm sure it's pretty much straight off the boat from China though. So
this is the bottom. This is the part of the base that mounts to the car.
And it's got like some gaskets that you stick in there to make it waterproof-ish. It took me a minute to figure out how the little tabs go in there. You crimp them on the wire and then you stuff the
That's right. Yep.
the tabs up in here. And then there's a little there's 2 different ones. There's one for the fuses, and there's a little piece missing on the back, and that little piece of plastic slides in there so it won't let it push back out when you're pushing the fuse down in there. And there's a little tab that sticks out on the ones that go into the relays.
And then show us that lid again, because that lid had a waterproof seal on it, a gasket or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got that green line's a gasket there. Okay, cool.
There's some cool meaningless decorative protrusions in
Actually,
the top.
that kind of looks like something that belongs in a stock Jeep. So
Yeah.
cool.
So what line is that?
this is the line that goes to the starter solenoid. So all of the current that flows through the starter motor does not flow through this. This only energizes the solenoid, which makes a bigger connection. Big giant connection to the battery.
You've got that wired to you're going to wire that through fuse block?
Yeah, so we have power coming from the battery here. Then it goes through this fuse, which is a 20 amp for now. And then it goes into the switch. And according to Evan, this switch should be beefy enough to handle the current for the starter solenoid. And so it comes out of the switch and goes to the starter solenoid. And the other side of the starter solenoid is grounded somewhere over there. So that's what we're doing.
All right, so I'm in the process of changing out the fuel injectors. We're thinking that these may be a little bit plugged up here inside. And if you watch my other video where Gusto and I worked on my Jeep Cherokee, I had the same problem where I left fuel sitting in there for a long time. All the injectors basically seized up because the oil turned, or the fuel turned to varnish in there. We're thinking that might be part of our problem. Definitely not a bad idea to replace these fuel injectors. So the ones with the blue O-ring coming off are the ones that are stock, and you can see they're all crusty and nasty. And so then we're going to put these new ones on. You can see clearly the two little holes that the fuel spurts out. And a tip that I learned from working on my own truck is when you're doing any work like on the fuel injectors on this type of engine, don't bother undoing this crossover piece. Just take out the 4 bolts and pull them all together. So that's what I've done here tonight. Then the only other tip I have for when installing these is you got to lube this O-ring before you stick it back up in there. And it's held on with these little metal clips that snap on there.
Always good advice to lube your O-ring.
That's right. So I'm lubing these. Sometimes they come with silicone or a little bit of special lube, but I'm just going to use a little bit of fresh, clean motor oil. And I'm getting careful not to get it inside where the fuel goes, lest it plug it up somehow. So, hang on a second. So,
Don't have any auto fuse.
all right, this is going to be a pain in the ass.
Smelling that gasoline.
All right, let's see if I get it.
Are we still cutting those off now or what?
Colin thinks he's got it.
I've actually got one of them in. It's just I'm tightening it, you know, a 16th of a turn every time and then I have to turn the wrench over.
Did you read the instructions? There's a hint on how to do that. It's twisting and rocking.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to twist and rock. Trust me.
I wanna rock.
All right, we just replaced all the fuel injectors, so we're trying to fire up the fuel system to check for leaks and make sure, because those O-rings are really, really difficult to get in there. They could have gotten pinched, so we want to make sure we don't have a leak.
Maybe this isn't the...
All right, we got it figured out.
So you said
I hear a leak.
Extra sandwich. You get it?
All right, you're good. Are we looking now? Check around. Check for leaks everywhere else.
Hey, I don't have that thing finished wiring it up. It'll only take a couple seconds.
I don't see any drips. I don't hear any bubbles.
What's our pressure? 60?
Yep.
There's a little bit of stain over here, but
That's not good.
What happened?
I think we blew a line off.
what?
Oh, maybe right there.
No, I think we blew a line off from the tank.
Oh.
Damn it!
Hang on, hold that. Listen.
Yeah, because you weren't. Yeah, you had to run it forever. Nah, what happened?
It would
anyway.
happen anyway. at least we found a weakness. We got to find somewhere.
Some way I can blame my brother.
So the pump came loose. We need to tighten up the hose clamps in the tank.
We have to drop the tank again.
Got to drop the tank again. That's working on cars.
Oh, not looking forward to this. Done it twice and I hate this job. The dropping the gas tank, those bolts underneath, it's freaking nerdy. But gotta be done.
On the bright side, if you do it enough times, you knock off all the dirt and it stops being dirty.
Good point.
Okay, so Colin, aka Gusto's getting ready to get underneath and drop the fuel tank, because when we were checking to see if there were any leaks when we in all our fuel injectors, we were running the fuel pump for a while and we heard something pop and just a fountain inside the gas tank. So it's obvious that the hose that we hose clamped on where we set up our fuel pump in there popped off and it's just splashing gas in there. So we got to drop the fuel tank, unfortunately. Again. But we've got all new fuel injectors in here, and Eric is making some progress on getting the wiring set up. So we are getting some things done. We are making progress. Just got to drop the fuel tank and mess with that fuel pump before we're going to be able to try to start it. So here we go.
Since I've already eaten, y'all go get food. I'll drop the tank. Y'all go get ring terminals and food. Okay, cool?
Cool.
All right, got the fuel tank dropped. There you go. I'm gonna open it up and see what exploded. Yep. All right, so just as suspected, they had a fuel line blow off of the pipe there. So we'll replace that and be back to where we started, it looks like.
So what we're doing right now is trying to put a slight flare on the tubing that where the hose popped off, because there's no bar. Pardon me. Should I start over?
No.
Nope, just keep talking.
Leave it.
So what we're doing right now is putting a flare on this tubing.
Flip it over.
This one's all crazy.
Oh yeah.
I need a normal one. Let me go find a normal one. I have a normal one somewhere.
Normal flare tool?
Yeah, normal one of these.
Okay. Okay. So part of the process is finding failure points. You try it, something doesn't work, you fix that. You try it again, you find something else that doesn't work, and you move through it, and eventually you've identified and fixed all the failure points. So we're working on that right now. We know that the way we had our fuel pump set up worked. We just needed to get a little bit more robust connection. So Colin's getting that put on there. We went ahead and replaced the hose that was on there down in the tank, just because it's a bear to do, and we wanted to go ahead and replace it while we've got the pump out of the tank. So that should be good to go once he gets it back in there, and then we will finally try to start it again. They're all three of them were tightened down?
Yes. All three of them.
I'm gonna redo this. Make it.
You gotta get it into the hole. There we go. Okay, it's on the right spot. Okay, testing fuel pump.
Oh, no, it's up to pressure.
Good.
Regulator's working.
Awesome.
No
I don't see any
leaks. No leaks. No hissing sound. Sounds like we're all right.
Good.
All right.
Stop it.
Okay, we are about ready to do a test start.
Can you Okay, are we ready?
Okay, hang on, real quick. Since last time I was just holding a wire to the starter, this time Eric has the switch wired up, so we got push button start, and he's gonna have to manually operate the fuel pump just by touching that wire to a source of power. So Eric gets to run the whole show here, and we get to stand back and watch.
Okay.
So Eric, proceed.
All right.
Hang on, we got everything clear in the engine compartment.
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Hit it. Hang on, Eric. Colin just hit it with some starter fluid. Keep it going, and let Colin spray starter fluid in there just to see if we can get it to run off of that and then go on its own. Okay.
Uh-oh.
What?
Fuel pump no longer works. What the crap?
What?
Again.
Same. Grounds.
Hold on. Test time. Okay, so we have a source of electrical smell in here, and the fuel pump quit working. So we're checking right now to see, make sure all our wiring's correct. Last thing we want is to have an electrical fire. We don't have fuses on everything right now, so there's a good chance that something could be shorting out. So we want to make sure we're careful. Probably wouldn't start a fire. Probably what I do is just melt through a wire, but scary things happen sometimes. All right, we're going to eliminate the new little fuse block that we didn't really talk about that, but we're trying to use a fuse block for everything, but we're going to eliminate that right now because it's the only thing that's in here that's really changed that could be sketchy. So we discovered a slight leak on our fuel filter here, so Matt's working on fixing that right now. See if we can tighten it up or replace the hose clamp.
It was not that tight. I was able to tighten it.
Okay, good.
Oh, no, actually your hose clamp died.
Yeah, bad hose clamp. All right, let's replace that little section of hose and the clamp.
All right, well, we're going to need a bucket or something. We're going to dump.
Right. There you go.
All right.
All right. That little project. All right, we're walking back to the electronics room here at the shop because we pulled the fuel pump out again, and we think that there was a short. And if you look right there, this wire, that part right there was exposed and potentially grounding out. So we're thinking that might have been the cause of the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to solder and heat shrink the wires. So here we go.
Here we go. Hold on, before you go to solder, you got to put the heat shrink on.
Yes.
Yeah, rookie mistake. So these wires right here, I cut out getting excited, but we're going to solder these together, heat shrink it. I shouldn't have cut that so short, but whatever.
It'll work.
That was my freaking mistake.
That's
Yeah,
totally what it was.
So
Grounding against
we
this
should have
metal.
done it freaking up here by the connector. I'm just an idiot. That's what happens when you get carried away.
It's okay. Not used as a hair dryer unless you like the smell of melted hair. I'm afraid to get it tighter than that because I don't want to cut it. Yeah.
Oh well, when the wire overheats, it'll heat the shrink up.
Yeah.
All right, it's getting late. We're kind of getting frustrated because we're having to redo work and check things, but we pulled the fuel pump out, we resoldered the connections, and we tested it at the battery. The fuel pump is working, it's fine. Everything's okay with the fuel pump. So now we're going to plug the fuel pump into the stock wiring and run a check there without it being in the gas tank to spurt gas on us.
It's connected.
Okay, the battery's connected. Evan.
Yep, just give it a tap, Eric. All right, there we go. You're good.
All right.
Okay, so we know our wiring's good. We can reassemble the fuel tank and the fuel pump and get ready to run the truck.
You guys smell anything?
All right, we've got pressure, the fuel pump's running, everything seems to be working.
Air sounds like it's coming out of the system.
I think it's just peeing now. I don't think it's in the air.
Yeah,
Sounds
we need
good.
to.
I
We need
don't see
to.
any leaks. It looks good.
I'm gonna give a quick purge check over here.
Looks good.
We're good down here.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa!
Okay.
Yep, that's good. All right, shut her off. Let's get ready for a test run.
Hang on, let me get this part.
Okay. All right. So to give you guys an overview, we're right back where we were last week. So we've changed the fuel injectors and we've kind of gone through and troubleshot the fuel pump. We've got fuel pressure. We now have the starter switch ready. Maybe, just maybe it'll work. Stay tuned.
When you crank it,
on.
give it a minute of cranking. I mean, we got enough battery here. Let Colin give it some sprays. Let's give it a little bit of time. Eric, don't
Okay.
be hasty with the cranking.
All right,
Yep.
you ready?
Yep.
Okay, fuel pump on.
Pressure's up.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Okay, here we go again.
That's a starter.
Get on the throttle.
Now, Colin, keep in mind that while you're squirting that, you are acting as the fuel injection,
I know.
okay?
I know.
So you don't want to just blast it, but you want to just...
Hey, where's the, oh, it's right there. Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Let it clear out real quick. Okay, now. It backfired.
That was fun.
All right, break time. It backfired.
That was fun.
All right, break time.
I saw flames!
That was fun. Yeah. I got shot. Yeah, I got blasted with a bunch of fire.
On the fuel pump, what made the jacket short circuit? What made the wire short circuit?
We were probably careless putting it together or something.
So, I mean, you're getting that initial fire and then nothing. So,
What's the fuel for the initial? Where's the fuel for the initial fire coming from?
I don't know. It consistently would do that though without the starter fluid, so it's not
Right.
just the starter fluid.
Right.
It is gas.
right. Yeah, the first one was gas. There was no starter fluid there.
Yeah.
So it's just
So there's a computer problem.
Start and run.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Briefly run and stop condition is the security based.
that's the,
From my
there is
Googling.
a
Yeah.
problem,
That seems
yes.
to be the most reasonable.
Well, I wish I had good news, but you know, you guys saw it. You know, you can't always have success 100% of the time. So this is part of the process, learning as we go. We've talked amongst ourselves. We've reviewed some of the helpful comments that you guys have made, and we're in agreement that it's probably the computer wanting to talk to the body control module, which we have a body control module. We just don't have any way of plugging it into the computer with this wiring harness. So the fix is probably going to be to send off our computer and have it reflashed. So Eric gets to do that here in the meantime, and after that, well, I will try it again. So just to kind of recap what we've done tonight, we tried to start it, but it's just doing the same thing as it was last time. But along the way, we discovered an issue with our fuel pump not wanting to run. We discovered some minor wiring issues, which we hope we've rectified now. So at least we once again believe we've got a rock solid fuel system at least, which is a big step. So really, if we reflash the computer, that's the only thing we think of. So tonight we also we replaced all the fuel injectors. So we know that they're new, they're good. We've eliminated that from the problem. We've also drained all the gas. If there was any old bad gas in there, that's all new. So, you know, really, I think we're kind of out of options now. We're going to see about flashing the computer and again turn to the forums and try to get some more information. So until next time, thanks for watching.
Okie dokie.